I'm going to speak a little bit about the 7 generations from the past. You know, the Wyandottes come to this area around 1701 by the invitation of Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac. He was in charge of a fort here. It was first called Fort Pontchartrain, and then it became Fort Detroit. So the Wyandot Nation was some of the first residents of Detroit, Michigan. We endured many hardships here, many wars, the French and Indian Wars, the Revolutionary War, many battles close by, the Battle of the Wabash, the Battle of Fallen Timbers, then the War of 1812, and then in 1816, a Methodist missionary from Marietta, Ohio, come up here and introduced the tribe to the Methodist religion. A lot of our tribal leaders became Methodist ministers, and this missionary brought the Word of God to them. They embraced it, and that's when the Methodist mission in Upper Sandusky, I kind of got ahead of myself, but since we had a good relationship with the French, they gave us a few million acres in Ohio, what is now Ohio. Our last recognized reservation was in Upper Sandusky, and that's where this missionary came. And the next year he passed away in 1823. In 1824 they built the Methodist mission in Upper Sandusky there in the cemetery. And then, the Great White Father in Washington told the Wyandottes that could be their land forever. That's a very strong word, forever. He told them they didn't have anything to worry about. Then in 1830, Andrew Jackson was elected president. And he started the Indian Removal Act. He wanted to remove all the Indians east of the Mississippi to west of the Mississippi. But the Wyandottes wasn't worried. They were assured that that would be their land forever. They moved the Ottawas out, Potawatomi, Delaware, Seneca, Shawnee. Then in about 1842, one of the tribal leaders from Wyandotte and his family was on a hunting trip. There was some other white hunters that asked for food and to sit by their fire. And of course, Wyandotte was a Methodist minister at the time, so him and his family embraced them, fed them, kept them warm. And they returned that favor by killing them and stealing their hunting dogs and a few raccoon pelts. So that was kind of the straw that broke the back. The Wyandottes discovered that Ohio wasn't a safe place for them to remain. So they made preparations to leave Ohio. The government promised them there was land in Kansas. They went down several times, looked at different parcels of land, told the government it wasn't suitable, but they had to leave anyway. In 1843, there were 664. That included 24 from Michigan and 30 from Canada, made the trek to Cincinnati, Ohio, boarded 2 riverboats, the Republic and the Nottoway. Before the riverboats ever left Cincinnati, 3 of the Wyandottes had died. One elderly woman that was sick when she boarded the boat, another Wyandotte that was drunk, fell overboard and drowned, and another hung himself. So they made the trek from Cincinnati down the Ohio River to the Missouri River and kept traveling down until the Missouri River met the Kansas or the Kaw River in Kansas. The riverboats pulled over to a swampy area, let them out. It was hot, a lot of mosquitoes. That first year, over 100 had passed away. But the Wyandottes have always been a very resilient people, very strong people. That didn't let them down. They set up ferries across the rivers there. They set up trading posts, blacksmith shops. They platted out a little town there that they named Wyandotte City. But of course, when they got there wasn't any land. The government had lied to them. So they had to purchase 36 sections of land from the Delawares. Since we had a good relationship with them in Ohio, they gave us another 3 sections. And that city is now Kansas City, Kansas. A lot of the street names there are Wyandotte names: Armstrong, Walker, Brown, Quindaro. But that wasn't the end of it. They had to move from there down to Indian country. Due to a treaty in 1855 which split the tribe, some wanted to stay in Kansas. But to do that, they had to go to Washington, D.C., have this treaty written to where they could accept U.S. citizenship and terminate themselves from the tribe to stay in Kansas. Quite a few of them done that. The others that didn't want to claim U.S. citizenship traveled down to Oklahoma. Well, it was Indian territory then. But that was a wild, wild part of the country. A lot of outlaws, a lot of marauders. And they discovered it wasn't safe there. You know, there was a little confrontation about that time that was developing called the Civil War. It was over slavery. Missouri was a slave state. Kansas was not. But since it was too dangerous for them to remain in Indian territory, they made the trek back up to Kansas. While they were there, they set up underground railroads during the Civil War, freed a lot of slaves from Missouri, and brought them into Kansas, where a lot of those ancestors from those slaves remain today. I've met a lot of them, and they were very good friends of mine. But after the Civil War, the government told them they're going to have to move to Indian territory. There's land down there for them. Well, in 1867, about 229 Wyandottes made that trek from Kansas down to Indian territory. And when they got there, guess what? There wasn't any land for them. So they purchased about 26,000 acres from the Seneca that were already there. And that's where we are today. Our ancestors there we set up allotments, they had farms. There was even a town built there, Wyandotte, Oklahoma. That's where our headquarters are today. We've thrived. We've rebuilt our lives over and over again. And today, out of that 229 that made that trek from Kansas down to Indian territory, we've got just under 6,500 tribal citizens today that are scattered all over the United States. We've become prosperous there, like our ancestors did in other locations that we've been, and we're tired of moving. That's where we're going to stay. That's where we made our home, and that's where we'll be for forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Second Chief Norm. It's always an honor.